You know, I've been doing these day texts just by tweeting them and posting them for several years. And, you know, it just became a good way for me to continue to share parts of the Bible and from history with others and to build kind of a more congregational feel through doing those texts. And that plus the Saturday show I find gives a lot of opportunity for discussion and to make other videos based on some of the content. So when I do like a Saturday show, like this past Saturday, I end up talking about a variety of related subjects, and then I can go back through the Saturday show in particular because it's a live discussion about an hour, so the content can be fluid and yet also meaningful. So we got into a brief discussion about abortion that I think I will go ahead and clip and just share that video as an abortion video. And then I'm going to do another show at some point all about abortion. It's very controversial. I'm not going to do it right away. Sometime next year, though, we'll focus on abortion. And as I mentioned the other day, I try very hard not to give my opinion about those kinds of personal things. It's not that I don't have one, and it's not that I don't think the Bible is clear on some of the things that I have opinions about. It's just that when it comes to making decisions for other people, I believe we will be better off if we empower individuals to make their own decisions and then help them if they really need it or ask for it. Otherwise, we could end up making decisions for other people, and then they're not really those people's decisions. So that's how I try to approach conversations with people about topics other than the three things. So I'm going to go ahead and begin today's day text show. We'll read the grouping of verses that I highlighted today, and then we'll make a brief application and be on our way. Okay. Welcome to Day Text with Greg Stafford. We meet every weekday morning at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to consider a portion of the biblical record or related history that we can use to educate ourselves and to help other people and to benefit from during our day. So we try to keep in mind some of the more important details from these texts. And then if they are something we can use, we have them ready at hand and in mind, and we can draw from them or share them with others if they need some help or encouragement. So speaking of encouragement, today's text deals with ways we can help people who may have lost a loved one, which really includes all of us at some point. How do we deal with death? A very difficult subject. So let's take a look at today's text from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and we'll talk a little bit about death, the Christian hope, and then we'll move forward with our day. So I've chosen 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 18 today. I jumped over chapter 3 because even though I've translated part of it, again, I'm looking for material that I can use that even though all of the texts have some benefit, I'm trying to find the text that I can make the most out of in ways that will give us the most benefit versus just reviewing fairly basic and commonly known terms or expressions of praise, thanksgiving, things like this. So today's text talks a lot about death and resurrection and the Christian hope. Let's see what it says. Starting in verse 13, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Also, brothers, or sisters too, because we know there were sisters, but he addresses the brothers because they're taking the lead in helping form the congregations at that time. We do not want you to lack knowledge about those sleeping in death, in order that you may not become sad, just like the others who have no hope. So Christians in the first century, like everybody else, they lost loved ones and friends, and so here they are proclaiming the great message about Jesus being resurrected, and yet people are still dying. So you can understand why it would be important to help them appreciate what death is and how, in a Christian sense, we believe it's just one step removed from receiving life again. Okay, so let's pick up in verse 14. I'll read the rest of the text. For if we believe Jesus died and rose from the dead, in the same way, those who fell asleep in death through Jesus, God will lead to him. Indeed, we tell you this by a message from the Lord. We who remain alive to his arrival will not reach our destination before those who are already asleep in death. Because with a loud command, with a voice of an archangel, and with a trumpet of God, the Lord will step down from heaven, and the dead who are with Christ will be ready first. Next, we who remain alive together with them, he's talking about the future, will be taken away in the clouds to a meeting of the Lord in the sky. In the same way, we will always be with the Lord. Therefore, you must encourage each other with these words. And so, verse 17 is where people often get the idea of the rapture, being taken away into the clouds. And of course, Jesus also said that two would be at the mill, one would be left, the other would be taken away. So there is this idea that Jesus would come back again and take with him the people who are still living during the time when he resurrects the dead. So that the dead are resurrected, and then the living are brought to Jesus, so that all of the resurrected and living Christians are together with him as he brings forth judgment upon the earth, separating the sheep and the goats and clearing the way for the new earth, the new heavens and the new earth. So then, as we know, New Jerusalem in the book of Revelation is described as descending from heaven to the earth to bring about a paradise condition like we had in the Garden of Eden, only better. And so this description here of meeting the Lord in the sky and being with him in this way points to that hope and of those who will be a part of the New Jerusalem arrangement in the heavens or in the earth to the extent that they are allowed to do so. We do know that there will be an interaction between those in heaven and on earth, just like there was in the time of Adam and Eve, when God communicated directly with them before they started to do things that were bad, which naturally would put you at odds with the God who made you to do good. But he lets us choose, and then we get the consequences. So he does not force us to do good, which wouldn't be good. So he doesn't do it. But we still know what's good and what's bad. It's just a question of whether we choose to do it or whether someone forces us to do it. Now, when it comes to dying and living again, we're all code. We're coded creatures. We are bilaterally symmetrical. We are designed genetically. We're code and spirit. That's it. It is not difficult when you conceive of it, like we just did, for God to bring us back to life. We can almost do that ourselves, at least conceptually. You hear today about how people, scientists and others, artificial intelligence scientists, believe that they can almost, or they're trying to get to the point where they can upload what they think is our personality into an artificial matrix. So if we can almost do that, at least conceptually, what can God do? The one who put together every single living structure, who can form and manipulate matter, who knows all the codes, and who controls the spirit. It would be simple, easy. That's just why Jesus did it to people like Lazarus and others so quickly, because it's really just the reassembling of the code of the physical structure combined with the spirit that God gave it originally. And so when we die, just like when Jesus died and he said, Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit, we entrust our spirit back to God, the one who gave it to us in the first place. Then he will give us a new body, just like he gave us our first body. There was a time we did not exist. There was a time we did not have a body. Now we do. So it should not be too difficult to imagine or believe that in the future, if we die, we can live again in a new body. And this is the hope of the Bible. This is the whole reason why it talks about Jesus coming, giving his life, so that people who follow him can live again when we die. And that's the Christian hope. So even though it's very sad when we lose people we love, even Jesus cried when Lazarus died, because the loss, he was gone for a while. And death is the opposite of life. And we were not made to die. So it's very sad. But we have the hope of the resurrection. We know that if we continue to do the things that God tells us are right, even if we make mistakes, we can be forgiven. So keep these things in mind. Every single person who's ever lived has died. But we can live again, just like we came alive before when we weren't alive yet. So we trust in God to do these things through Jesus. Remember in John chapter 5, Jesus talks about how his voice would bring all those who have died out of the grave. And yet here, his same voice is spoken of as a command, as the voice of an archangel, bringing the dead back to life, bringing the dead and the living who are alive at that time with Jesus. So all of these things tie together, and they can be used to give us encouragement and to help others to understand the great message. So I'm going to go ahead and post today's text. For some reason, I wasn't able to post the text part of yesterday's text. So I'm going to post that, and then I'll post this. So you might see two sections of texts. And then if you need to refer to it at any time, do so, or check out this video once I upload it. Hopefully it gives you some encouragement. And if nothing else, it's a great way for us to start our day, to give God praise, take in information, encourage each other, because we don't know what we're going to face today. But I know we'll be better off facing it with the knowledge that we received and with God's Spirit if we need it. So never discount prayer. Always look to Jah if you need help, and he will respond to you. So thank you for joining me this morning. It's again very encouraging for me. I hope it benefits you. I will be back tomorrow for another day text. We're getting close to finishing up with 1 Thessalonians. Then we'll move into 2 Thessalonians, some good information there as well. And we'll just keep right on going until we end with the book of Revelation and then reset with Genesis. So thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and may God bless you. Thank you.